Deadpool and Wolverine is killing it at the box office, having surpassed $1 billion in global ticket sales over the past weekend. People are actually talking about the MCU in a positive light again, and there's some real excitement when it's mentioned. A lot of people are speculating that this shows the return to form for the MCU after the lackluster Phase 4 and 5 outings that we had to struggle through. The return of the once mighty box office juggernaut. I'd argue that Deadpool and Wolverine has only done this to the MCU. Let me explain.
Walk with me.
In phases 1 to 3 of the MCU, the films introduced us to characters we still love today through standalone films. Even though these standalone films helped us to get to know the characters, most of them had the insert main antagonist name here thread weaved into them. It first was Loki, then Ultron, and through a lot of all those phases, the ultimate big bad, Thanos. All the films slowly built to that final climax with the two-part Avengers films. That golden thread was visible throughout that build-up though. It was a time when Marvel focused on good stories and good characters.
I am Iron Man.
Iron Man. I am soaking wet right now.
Then came Phase 4, and with it, the MCU was born. At this point, a lot of the OG actors had had a good run, had made an incredible amount of money, and were good to start looking outside the MCU for acting roles. I also get introducing new heroes into the fold. Marvel has an incredible catalogue of characters, and it would be a disservice to many of them for just these few current characters to constantly get the green light. But gone was the meticulous planning of an overarching story thread that would lead us to some sort of climax, while introducing said new superheroes into the fold. Instead, what we got was the identity politics first, story last approach. The golden thread was gone, and with it, all semblance of good cohesive writing. We were introduced to new heroes through sloppy world building. Every new film felt completely separated from anything else being done at that point. Nothing that happened in a certain film or series any longer had an overarching impact. Anyone remember the massive celestial from the Eternals that takes up hundreds or maybe thousands of square kilometers and is high enough to probably need to change air traffic patterns for? No? Me neither. And then the series started up as well. Super expensive, overproduced and preachy all the way, stuffed with identity politics and good storytelling nowhere to be found. Disney got into their stride with the more is better approach and bombarded us with this constant stream of random content creators shouting at us through their megaphones from their soapboxes, all thinly disguised as superhero fare. Gone were the days of any male characters being of any use. And the epitome of all things awful? Straight white male. Any character that was even close to that needed to be torn down. Fuck the patriarchy and all that. Gone were the days of heroes being uplifting, of being beacons of hope and something or someone to strive toward. Now it was their time to tear down, demolish and destroy. Especially if that meant they could annihilate OG characters' legacies. At some point in this mess, Disney also acquired 20th Century Fox, and with it, most of the outstanding Marvel characters they didn't have the rights to. Along with all the preaching, the MCU also decided to wade into the multiverse waters. The multiverse is a very tricky thing to get right for any franchise, let alone one that now kept hiring activist hack writers and showrunners who were way more interested in telling their story than a cohesive or even competent superhero story. Needless to say, there was no clear thread running through any of this chaos verse. Kang was the closest they got, but as a big bad in the MCU, he had been a nothing burger up to the point where his storyline ended due to the troubling issues with the character's actor. Not that Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania had us convinced that he was even a genuine threat. I mean, ants kicked his ass. Things were looking bleak as fuck in Marvel Land, and I bet old Kevin was scratching his head, wondering where it all went wrong. And that lengthy detour brings us to Deadpool and Wolverine. Essentially, both characters debut into the MCU. And make no mistake, we're still firmly in the MCU. You see, for all intents and purposes, Deadpool and Wolverine had absolutely zero impact on the MCU. It's a standalone film that serves its own purpose. Yes, it's technically in the MCU, but it doesn't change anything. The universe before and after this film is exactly the same. No forward movement happened toward that inevitable Avengers climax. It's almost as if this film never happened. The only thing it really achieved was outwardly mocking the multiverse, while its inward mechanics were all based on it. Plus, it threw in the anchor being concept to make the multiverse even more of a predicament. It also showed us that any random person with a bit of ingenuity can build a device that can destroy the whole multiverse. No longer does the threat come from some super powerful being. Spoiler ahead, no. Now it comes from Mr. Paradox, who decides to go rogue and build a machine under the incompetent TVA's noses. That just scratches the surface of some of the internal logic issues of this film, but going there would mean crazy spoilers. So let's skip that till I can get a proper review. With this film crossing $1 billion globally, I bet old Kevin is currently patting himself on the back so hard he needs a chiropractor. But the thing is, he, and by extension anyone in charge of the overarching MCU direction, had no part in this. This film came to them. It was not born from their clever direction. Ryan had a cool idea, some high-level friends, and pitched it to them. They just sat back and produced it. If you look at the slate of projects that will follow this, things just go back to normal MCU shenanigans. We start with Agatha, whatever the series is called now, as the only other project this year. And then next year we will be treated to a new Daredevil series, an Ironheart series, the extremely expensive patchwork Captain America Brave New World, the Thunderbolts, which sound about as exciting as talking to a tree, most likely not a Blade film anymore, and then arguably the most important film for Marvel in these phases, Fantastic Four. And then after those, it's the next Avengers film in 2026. There's been no build-up to that film, with the only film that might build into that being the Fantastic Four film. Apart from what I just mentioned, 2026 will also see a Vision series and a Wonder Man series. Then there's multiple Wakanda projects, Shang-Chi 2, cause who doesn't want more Aquafina?
Remember the swamp? Remember my song in the swamp when I was like, wham, chicka, wham, wham, chicka, wham.
Armor Wars, Spider-Man 4, a Nova series, yeah, these guys.
We'd like to express our profound gratitude for your help in saving Xandar.
Exciting stuff all round. So apart from a lackluster bunch of projects preceding the Deadpool and Wolverine film, there's also no real course correction immediately after this film. Sure, Marvel has brought Robert Downey Jr. back as Dr. Doom now.
Is the man not going to be joining us?
The man? Yeah, he doesn't do this kind of thing anymore.
And the Russos are directing the new Avengers films, but will that be enough? Cherry and the Grey Man weren't exactly great films. The other big deal here is that although the MCU and identity politics have been pushed as hard as Disney could possibly do it,
Stop it.
the first film to cross the $1 billion mark in 5 years, not counting No Way Home, is a film with 2 straight white males as the leads. No Way Home had 3 straight white Spideys as leads. Whoopsie! Well, shit. That's not how it was supposed to go.
Let's fucking go!
The thing to remember with these two movies, and specifically with Deadpool and Wolverine, is not that it's about them being straight white males, but it's about them both being Canadian. Ryan is Canadian, Logan is Canadian, and the Wolverine animal is also Canadian. Plus, Australia and Canada are both part of the Commonwealth, and Hugh has been playing Logan for 24 years now, so he is basically Canadian at this point. But really, I don't personally think that Deadpool and Wolverine is an incredible film. What it is, though, is fun and entertaining. When last did you walk out of a Marvel film or finish a Marvel series with a smile on your face because you actually enjoyed it? Probably Endgame, am I right? Does Agatha, or Ironheart, or the new Captain America sound like fun? No! I can't wait for Falcon to preach at me again.
You've got to do better, Senator.
And the Thunderbolts? Sounds like a Temu version of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but with Russian accents all around. Can't wait to be entertained by this gender swap void of charisma. And look, the white male is the comic relief. That's the problem with Deadpool and Wolverine. The first project after this film will be Disney at its worst again, right back into its identity politics driven content with Agatha all along. Deadpool and Wolverine is just a blip on the monitor for the corpse that is the MCU. We'll look back at Deadpool and Wolverine as an incredibly fun and entertaining movie, with a lot of great cameos and callbacks to times past. We'll remember it for the great chemistry the two leads had.
Hi, Peanut. I'm gonna need you to come with me right now.
Nope, I'm actually okay. Thank you very much.
We'll look back at it for Wolverine finally being in a movie with a real Deadpool.
I waited a long time for this team up. Guess we're getting that team up after all.
20 years later. We'll look back at Deadpool and Wolverine for being the first R-rated MCU film.
Go fuck yourself.
We'll look back at it for literally showing us how Disney discards and throws away so many properties it buys up.
That's a good thing I don't give a Come again? Bingo.
And we'll look back at it and remember that Wesley Snipes is the only real Blade.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Unfortunately, what we won't look back at Deadpool and Wolverine for is being the film that revived the MCU.
I am Marvel Jesus.
Anywho, that's me signing off.